Hey there, Gavin Gu here from UltimateReloader.com. I have been impatiently waiting for my Brass-Smith presses to show up. I started with the Ideal. I've already published that video. We got 3 videos total coming. We got the Ideal, which I already did. We've got the All-American 8, the only 8-station turret I'm aware of, and then the Brass-Smith Victory after that. So, what's so interesting about the All-American 8? Well, it's made in the USA. It's cast iron. It's got 8 stations, which is pretty amazing. That extra station over 7-station turrets is going to make a bit of a difference. And it also has on-press priming. Finally, it also has an ambidextrous handle setup. So let's get in. Let's do an unboxing. I'll show you everything in the box. You're going to see this with me for the first time. Then we'll put the press together. Then we'll see how it works. How about that? Okay. The moment has finally come. I know a lot of you have been talking about this press and wondering about it, and totally excited to get hands-on with it. Okay, looks like the same instruction manuals that we got with the Ideal. Expected that, because it's one set of manuals for all of the presses. Ooh, and there it is. Okay, the handle. Some packing material. We've got some parts here. Okay. Spent primer cup. And, well, one more thing. The turret indexing handle. There it is! And oh my, is that a big piece of cast iron? I like it. I like it a lot. That is massive. Okay, we're gonna have to put the linkage together, looks like. Take care of that shortly. But I can't resist spinning the turret here. Ooh, nice. Notice it's got the rear support, so it's going to give us really good, repeatable depth stops for the different kind of operations that we're going to do. Okay. All right, well, I got a little bit of work to do. I'm going to read the instructions. I'm going to put this thing together, and then we'll put it to use. So setting up the All-American 8 was actually really easy and really straightforward. I started with the pin that serves as the pivot for the linkage. I installed the pin. I threw in the extra E-clip on the other side to secure it in place. I did throw some moly grease on it so that it would remain lubricated over hopefully the lifetime of the press. Then it was time to take a look at the priming system. So I installed the priming block, which is essentially the dispenser. I put the arm on. There's a spring that you push against when you're operating the priming arm. That goes on, and then the knob on the very end. That secures the whole assembly in place by holding this spring captive, which is going to push back on it. There's also the actual priming tube, which is also the pickup tube. There's some hitch pins that are included to keep the primer secured when you're doing your flip on that. That goes down, and then the shield goes over that, and that serves to protect the operator in case there was an explosion, which is incredibly rare, but what you want is for the blast to go up and away if that were to happen. And with this press, I don't see that happening because there's a separation between the priming area and the actual column of primers. So then I put on the handle. The handle went on really easily. I just used an adjustable wrench. You spin the nut on, you screw the handle into the press. It is an ambidextrous design, so you can go on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I chose the right-hand side. And then you tighten the nut down, and that holds the handle in place. Finally, there's the indexing knob. That just slides in, and it's got a ball detent in there. So what's nice about that is that you can actually remove it, and then if you look here, there's another detent hole 180 degrees, so you can have it kind of on either side. That's super important on this press because you've got a tube priming system with the tube hanging up right here, and you want to be able to have either option with that. Once the press was together, it was time to install my inline fabrication quick change ultra mount plate. Now this is the same plate that is used on the T-Mag, is used on the Ideal, the Victory. All of the Brass-Smith presses use this same plate, and inlinefabrication.com is the place to go for that. They also have an integrated ultra mount, which is slightly more rigid without the quick change feature as well. So that all went together really smoothly, and granted I have done this hundreds of times, it feels like. Let's take a look at a simple reloading scenario. I think I'm going to reload some 45 ACP. I just got some new Lyman dies for that. And then we'll follow up with future videos for other calibers. So here's the deal. I thought it would be fun to show a 4-die pistol setup. That's where we've got separate dies for sizing, depriming, expanding, seating, and crimping. Plus, we're going to throw a powder measure into the mix as well, so that we can do a complete 45 ACP loading session by just indexing through the stations. And because this is an 8 station, we have 3 stations that are left open. That means that we could have a traditional rifle reloading setup with a second powder measure, or even just the powder die, so that we could remove and replace the powder measure so it's not in the way, and not have to mess with dies at all. That is pretty cool. And if we're using the same primer size, we don't have to worry about replacing any of those parts either. So setting up this press was relatively easy. I will make one note, and that's that if you're going to do a 5-station setup like this, it is critical where you put the dies, because if you don't put them in the right position, you're going to have this indexing handle interfere with either the main lever or the priming lever. And so what I did was you index the turret all the way until this handle is about to interfere with the priming tube, and you start a die there. I have my last die here because I wanted to start this way and rotate through the stations in this particular direction, but if you're going the other way, it's just going to be a mirror image of the setup. This press uses standard 7/8 by 14 dies. I'm using Lyman dies here, and I'm using an RCBS Uniflow powder measure, but I'll note that just about any reloading die is going to work on this press, so that's great. It also uses standard shell holders. I will note that there's pretty tight clearance between the priming dispenser block down here and the shell holder station. So before you load your primers, it can be a good idea to just raise the ram a little bit and shove your shell holder in that particular orientation. So let's take a quick look at this setup. I'm going to ratchet back to station number 1. I've got a 45 ACP load that I've duplicated here, one that I shoot all the time. So we're going to insert the brass into the shell holder with station number 1 overhead. We're going to raise the ram all the way to the top to size and deprime, pull back on the priming lever. Then as we're heading down with the ram, we insert the priming lever underneath the shell, and that's going to prime it. When we let up, the priming lever automatically pops back. So there we go. We have a nice primed case. Now we index to station number 2. It's going to do our expanding in this particular case. Looks good. Then we index to station number 3, which is going to charge with powder. Good to go there. Index to station number 4, grab a bullet and place it. That's going to seat our bullet. And then the last station, we're going to crimp the bullet. Okay. So that's a slow-mo. Let's see that once again a little bit quicker. Gotta remember the bullet. Come on, people. Okay. So I'm just going through my notes for efficiency here, and it looks like I can pretty much short stroke except for the priming station and the bullet seating station, because I don't want to forget that bullet seating step. So let's try that one more time. We can short stroke again. I can go all the way to the bottom so I can place my bullet. Okay, seat and crimp. Something like that. Well, that was fun. Getting the All-American 8 set up, getting it mounted, and setting it up and getting familiar with the user interface a little bit. This press has a lot going for it. It's solid. It's a tank. It's cast iron. It's made in the USA. It's got the ambidextrous handle. It's got on-press priming with a lever system, which I like. It's got the spent primer catcher. It's got an 8-station indexing turret head with the indexing handle. It's got the rear support, which is going to give us more consistent bullet seating, more consistent bushing bump. Say we want to bump the shoulder 1/1000th of an inch. It's going to repeat the same way every time because of that rear support. This press works with standard 7/8 by 14 dies, so it's going to be really versatile as well. Same with shell holders, standard shell holders. So I hope that you'll stay tuned because we're going to be doing a lot more with Brassmith, and I'm going to follow up with more All-American 8 content. It's probably time to do some rifle reloading with it. And so I hope that you will subscribe to GavinTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down there and make sure you click the bell for notifications as well. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Until next time, happy shooting and happy reloading.